At the beginning of my work, I had some notion of the Semitic style, or Semiticisms of the Greek New Testament. My limited understanding of this subject had come mainly from observing the peculiar order of words, or syntax, in Markan. The other two synoptic gospels, the syntax of ancient Greek may be described as being relaxed, meaning is not as dependent upon the position of words in a sentence as it is in English or Hebrew. This is true for Koine, or New Testament Greek, as well as for Classical Greek. Both display a word order that is not rigid, but in the older Classical Greek, this feature stands out as being more pronounced translating the Greek of the Synoptic Gospels. I encountered a syntax that was remarkably rigid. In other words, in numerous sentences, the verb and its subject and object would typically occupy the same positions. It was this consistency in word order, verb first, followed by subject, and then object, reflecting the syntactical structure of Hebrew that caused me to realize that the Synoptic Gospels were descendants of an early Hebrew life of Jesus. On the other hand, I realized that attempts to reconcile or explain differences in the texts of the Synoptic Gospels had been based on two wrong assumptions. One, that the Synoptic Gospels can be harmonized, and two, that the Synoptic Gospels are the result of oral tradition that was only written down long after the time of Jesus. Harmonizing the Gospels? The differences in a given story repeated by two or more gospel writers is explained by saying that though they differ considerably in the Greek text when translated into English, they essentially make the same point. One can therefore think of the work of the three synoptic authors as the same story with different wording thus. If one wants to get the whole message of a given story, for example, the story of the man let down through the roof, Matthew 9:8, Mark 2:8. Mark 2h, 1:12, Luke 5:17, 26. One only needs to combine the texts of the three synoptic gospels, resulting in a harmonized version of the three. This is a faulty approach, however, because it tends to ignore the differences in the gospels. I believe that understanding these differences helps us better understand the gospels themselves, and this in turn makes it possible to formulate a more accurate picture of our Lord.